The Texas abortion ban.
Oh, fucking hell. Aye. Yeah.
I know.
It's one of those things where I've been trying to keep abreast of it, but the more I look into it, I just get angry when I start reading things.
Yeah.
So I have to sort of shut it down and think, okay, let's take 5 minutes and come back to it. And then I'm too angry to go back to it.
Yep.
So, should we have a brief rundown? Have you got some notes or something?
I do, yes.
Lovely stuff.
So, last Wednesday, a near total ban on abortion was implemented in Texas. Women are now...
See, already now I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
I've only said about 10
I
words.
know,
Fuck's sake. Right,
sake.
carry on.
So it's women are prevented from getting an abortion 6 weeks after conceptions, and this includes cases of sexual assault or incest. It's probably the most extensive so far, sort of erosion of women's reproductive rights, and the U.S. religious right are firmly sort of supporting it. So I've got an article up here, and it's the Observer view on the abortion ban. So I mean, well, as I'm sort of reading through it, a lot of people are saying it's like unconstitutional because of like Roe v. Wade, and that's absolutely the case.
Roe v. Wade is another thing I've only ever heard of in passing. Let me quickly Google it.
Yeah. It makes it...
the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction.
Mm-hmm. So, the Constitution has just been completely thrown out of the window because of the Supreme Court nominees that Trump managed to get on, to the Supreme Court.
Yep, a Supreme Court nominees who cannot be fired, cannot leave, they are there till they die.
Yeah.
Which isn't that such a wonderful system? Maybe we should hold elected officials accountable and then elect them, rather than getting just some random fucking guy to make all these horrific decisions.
Absolutely.
God almighty. The thing, right, at the most... Right, obviously, this is a massive deprivation of women's rights, and obviously it's fucking horrific in that sense alone. But also, the thing that's deeply terrifying is that at 6 weeks pregnant, most women, most people, don't even know they're pregnant.
Absolutely.
Because the way that the 6 week date is calculated is, time from your last missed period, I think?
Yeah.
So, what that means is that at 6 weeks, people just won't know, because it's not long enough to actually notice. The only time that people, a lot of the time, notice that they're pregnant is if they notice a pattern in missed periods and like, I'd better do a pregnancy test to be on the safe side, and then they do and discover they are pregnant.
Yep.
And that can be quite far down the line.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's like, apparently it's even after the 6 week mark, you can sue someone who tries to help, like monetarily, support women who are trying to get abortions as well.
Fucking disgusting.
So it's
fuck's sake, it's cruelty and deprivation of freedom in the name of religious sort of piety. It's absolutely disgusting.
Absolutely.
The fact that if your religion is one that means that a teenage girl has to carry a rapist's baby to term, then that is not only is it not a religion I can understand, it's a religion I violently dislike.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cannot abide the thought of such a thing happening. It's utterly disgusting. I absolutely loathe it.
If there was ever a sort of like crackdown on sort of religious freedom, that maybe you weren't allowed to say incredibly hateful things in the name of religion, people would have guns, people would be marching, people would be destroying public buildings and things like that. So such a case in the US is made for religious freedom, and the government will take your guns away. And the same people that are so fearful of government are wanting to use that same fucking government to deprive other people of their rights. And
it's libertarianism when it suits.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, apparently there are 6 other Republican states that are trying to prepare to rush through bills based on the law that's been put through. So I mean, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you need to fucking say this is not on, and it's absolutely despicable.
It is utterly disgusting. I cannot believe, even in the most obscure, horrible right-wing town, that this legislation could get passed.
Yeah.
Because the legislation, as far as I'm aware, doesn't include any kind of legal protection or monetary assistance for the person once they've had this baby. And then the reason that a lot of people might want to abort babies is because they cannot have a baby.
Yeah.
Physically, they don't have the money, or they don't have the space, or they can't take care of a child. So then what you're saying is, okay, well, this person is forced to have a baby in spite of the fact that they cannot take care of it.
Yeah.
And then that will go to the state, and the baby will go through the adoption system, and the baby will have the trauma of not knowing its biological parents, perhaps. And then you're literally looking at this. You're prioritizing the suffering of a theoretical child over the suffering of a very real person.
Absolutely.
It's utterly disgusting. It really annoys me, stuff like this does. It really infuriates and disgusts me.
Me too, just 100%. I mean, see, even trying to look at it from the pro-life point of view, let's say, for instance, right, that life does begin at conception, and we can consider a fetus to be a person, and they are given the same rights as any other person, right? The idea that... The best example I've ever heard of it, right, is imagine you're driving a car, right, and you're inebriated or something like that, and you've got a passenger next to you, and you end up in a car crash, and you wake up in this hospital, and for some weird scientific reason, your friend has been severely injured, and the only way that they can live is by the blood that you have, and you have to continuously give blood. Do you honestly think that anyone in their right mind would say, yep, he has to stay there for the rest of his life until his friend's better and give his own blood without his consent? They would you cannot give the state the ability to do that. And another way to sort of look at it, it's not the killing of a child, it's just not giving nutrients to something that you don't want to give nutrients to, if you understand it that way.
That's the thing. It's not a child. It's a clump of cells.
Yeah,
it's
but
a
I'm just.
It's a. Do you know what I mean?
I just even mean from the if we were to grant that it was a child, like, you can't force someone to feed another living thing against their will and enforce that by the state, because you would go into very slippery territory very quickly if you started acting like that. A lot of horrible fucking things could be justified, and if it was the example of being in the hospital, there is no way that Republicans would support that at all. Do you know what I mean?
The thing that really becomes obvious about the pro-choice versus pro-life debate when you start to consider it is that pro-choice doesn't mean everybody has to have an abortion. Pro-choice means a person can decide if they want an abortion or not. So if it's somebody that's, I don't know, they own their own house and they have a steady stream of income and they're comfortable and can afford and can house and clothe and feed a child, great. They are more than welcome. If that's what they want, or even if it's what they don't want, they can have an abortion, not have an abortion. The choice is completely up to them.
Yep.
It's on them. They want to make that decision about their life and their theoretical child.
Absolutely. But
in the same, as a flip side of the coin, what the pro-choice debate also means is that if somebody is against abortions, they don't have to have one, and therefore sort of say somebody with a religious bent against abortions.
Yeah. It's this...
And they decide, I don't like the idea of abortions because of whatever reason, or because it's something that my preacher that I like is against, or it's something that I personally feel against.
Yeah.
That's fine as well from a pro-choice standpoint. You are allowed to just say, okay, you don't want an abortion, you don't have to have one. That's fine too. The pro-life stance is being aggressively, nobody is allowed to get any abortions ever.
Exactly.
Even if the mother will die, even if it's a rapist, even if it's their father that's impregnated them, it's utterly disgusting.
It's fucking medieval. It's like, can you imagine how people would react if this law was passed and it was guns that we were talking about? I don't agree with guns. I think they're killing machines, and I think less of them reduces the amount of violent crime and school shootings that happen. Like, You even say that. You even say, oh, can we have some background legislation so that you can't just go to a gun show, spend $5,000 and then get a gun for yourself? And it's one road to confiscation for extreme Republicans. Like, there is no sort of, oh my God, they're coming to take our gun. Like, can you imagine the reaction if a law like this in the context of guns was passed? There would be riots. There would be, just pure anarchy on the street. So I don't understand why this has happened quite almost sort of chillingly silently. It's just sort of been passed, and there's nothing we can do about it.
I didn't know anything about it until it had already happened.
Yeah,
I know I'm in the UK, obviously, so why would I be keeping up to date with potential new laws?
Yeah.
But then as soon as it was a law, it was like everybody's furious. What the fuck's happened?
Absolutely.
And it's utterly disgusting. I cannot abide the concept of something like this.
No, definitely.
And
it's for the next 50 years that these Supreme Court judges will influence the Constitution, and it's like it's really a shite state of affairs, and
the thing is, this is something I do truly believe in my heart, is that any question like this, any question about the moral standing of a certain behaviour or a certain choice, it always comes down to a level of suffering.
Yeah.
How much suffering has happened? Even if it's a moral choice about veganism, how much suffering is a fish going through before you kill it and eat it? How much suffering is happening in that situation? And in the equation, is it acceptable? Is it not acceptable?
Yeah.
And looking at this utterly insane situation, what you're saying is that you deliberately want women to suffer until they have the child, and then after that, because nobody has an abortion for fun.
No.
So this abortion will be this child that the woman wanted to abort will be forced into a life that is probably not suitable for anything.
Yep, and no support after the fact is given. It would be slightly more defensible, and I'm not that doesn't mean that it's defensible. It means that from the pits of hell you're brung up rung one rung, right? So don't even. But if there was yes, and after you've had this child, there will be a huge support network put in place for mothers that don't want to sort of keep the child, or whether but there's not even that. It's just nope. You'll be having it and that's it. And there's nothing, there's no argument there. There's no sort
you
of...
can't afford a baby? Well, you should pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Get a job.
Yep.
I already have 3 jobs. That's why I can't have a baby.
Absolutely.
Ugh, it's utterly disgusting. The only, like what you're saying, is the only sort of vaguely pro-life standpoint I can understand is, I forget what country it was. I think it was a European country. It might have been the Netherlands, where a pro-life charity was established. And they sort of said, okay, well, abortions are free and legal and safe in the Netherlands, but we still don't really agree with them.
Yeah.
We think that it's something that should be avoided. The killing of a fetus should be avoided, if at all possible. And so instead of marching on government buildings, screaming hateful abuse at people going into clinics,
yeah,
they went to expecting mothers that were thinking about having an abortion and said, okay, but what if we get you a cot and nappies and baby food, and what if we provide support for you, because we're a charity that people are donating to help support children that might be disadvantaged.
Yeah.
So can we help you with the things that you're doing? Mm-hmm. Can we, as I say, give you a cot or help you pay bills on your house, or mean so that you don't have to work 2 jobs, you can do less work and have a little bit more money, and you'll be able to spend time with this child when it arrives?
Yeah.
Because the only... ethical decisions don't exist in a vacuum.
No,
it's
they
like
don't.
how I say that there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. There's no ethical way to sort of... You can't be expected to make a choice based purely on ethics when you're also massively struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. And
if you're a person that's just found out they're pregnant and you think, okay, there's no way I can afford this baby, I have to get an abortion, that's not an ethical decision. That's a decision you've made in the confines of, I have no money, I have no room, I have no support network that might be able to take care of the child when I'm at work.
Yep.
I physically cannot do this.
Absolutely.
So, essentially, what this theoretical charity I was speaking about, what they're doing is they are allowing that ethical choice to be made as an ethical choice, not as a balance sheet choice. Because you're saying, okay, well, if we take away all the monetary issues and we can provide you with help, then do you want this baby? Emotionally, and sort of spiritually, are you ready to raise a child?
Yeah.
And only then is it an ethical choice. Only after massive help being provided to people.
I know, it's and the ethics that are sort of being forced upon women in the US and other places around the world is, like you said, a clump of cells. See, if I clap my hands, I'm killing cells at the moment. Does that mean that every single cell in the human body is somehow a person? Or does it take, a long period of time for a human being to grow arms and grow consciousness and to grow a head and a face? I don't understand where the line is, because any conservative that you say that to, oh, don't be ridiculous. Well, what is it then? What is it's a cell that merges with an egg, and then the process begins. At that point, it is so small that the number of cells are absolutely minuscule. There is no consciousness. It would be more unethical to kill a plant at that point, because plants are actually alive, you know. It's really weird, and it's absolutely disgusting. And everyone that has any moral sensibilities should absolutely oppose it.
100%. I could not agree more. It's, even if you think that abortions are inherently a bad thing, I cannot understand the thought process that would drive you to think, okay, well, nobody is allowed to have them ever.
Yeah.
Even if both the mother and child will die, given no medical intervention, nobody is allowed to have them. I physically cannot understand your thought process that gets you there.
No.
It's what gets me with a lot of sort of, in terms of economic politics, I can see the arguments for both left-wing and right-wing arguments, but I fall on the left-wing side of things. But in terms of social issues, I cannot understand right-wing thought processes.
No.
On things like being pro-life, on things like being anti-LGBT, I just cannot understand it.
Yeah.
I do not understand how you can have that opinion. And this is another one of those situations.
I mean, I'm sorry to be as partial as humanly possible, but all the sort of hardcore right-wing positions are never based on facts or reality. They're almost always based on emotion and feelings, and it's the left that's lauded for being snowflakes, when it's the left that cares about actual individual freedom for women. It's like, the idea that a libertarian could support this is just fucking, it's mind-boggling to me. It's like, you want the state to intervene, but only when it suits you. It's like, what is the actual point of you then? You're inconsistent and you're disgusting, and there's no getting around that.
It's a tool of oppression disguised as piety.
Yep. But there you go.